project?
The 700,000, no ma'am, it's not. We're going to be requesting Woolworth Road overlay and a little bit of rehab in that, for that, to secure that money. It is dedicated to Caddo for some types of projects as long as it can be approved through the DOTD. The DOTD has the funding, and we have to submit, request it, and if they turn us down, we just have to try to find another project.
For any, yeah.
I'd like to caveat on that, ma'am. The entire area, Bossier Parish, Caddo, Bossier City, and Shreveport received $7.9 million in transportation project monies under the stimulus package. Shreveport received $4 million, Bossier received $2.8 million, Caddo received $700,000, and Bossier Parish received $300,000. And Mayor Glover told me that they are going to put their $4 million into I-49. So we figured at $700,000. We have some right now issues with respect to transportation needs, like the new 3132 Linwood connection. It is a safety hazard there. And we thought that we can have these projects in the Woolworth Road project ready by the end of September to go forward, because you have to meet the timeline to get the money, and it must be shovel ready, so to speak. So, but it must be spent on transportation needs and nothing else.
Oh, I got it.
So we could do the same. We could say a DOTD, instead of us receiving $700,000 from construction projects, we could pass it on to another DOTD project,
Right.
such as I-49 or whatever. But we do have needs that we can have ready, and I think administration is right by moving forward with that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Thank you, Madam President. First of all, let me compliment you on the work you're doing. But let me say this, and I don't want to sound as though I've got a criticism of the effort. But I do believe that the true spirit behind the stimulus package was to create jobs. And if we're going to spend $700,000, and I understand it's got to be on transportation, what kind of jobs is that going to create? Are we now going to take $700,000 and just give it back to the same people who've been making the money and overlaying roads? Or are we going to create some new jobs? You know, I'm a little perturbed by this finding here. Most grants are for communities with poor economic conditions and poor economic parts of the country. We are finding that with our funds and in our area of the country are in too good of financial shape to qualify. It must not be going to some of the neighborhoods I'm going in. Poor people need jobs. They need to be able to work. And the President's stimulus package, a part of that focus was to create some jobs. So we can now get $700,000, which is, thankful, but still not compared to what the city of Shreveport is getting. We can get that now, and the same contractors are just going to get that money. No new jobs are going to be created. The same people are going to end up with the money. Or what is the vision here for that? Do we have a vision for creating jobs as we go through this process? I don't think this is going to be the last time that we're asking for some stimulus money. Do we have a vision that we're going to be able to sit down here one day and talk about jobs we're creating, or just bringing new money to give to the same old people?
You're correct, Commissioner. The stimulus package was to do that. Unfortunately, the portions that we're going to get, like $700,000, is probably going to go to a contractor who's got the same amount of employees. I agree with you 150% that the amount of jobs being created by all $700,000 is probably not going to go out and create a bunch of jobs.
Well, who is going to make a decision about how this $700,000 is spent? Is this a decision going to come before the commission? I heard something about Woolworth Road. Who selected Woolworth Road? How did that come about?
Yeah, Commissioner, I was just talking a few minutes ago. But the money we're talking about is earmarked only for transportational needs only. And we can't change that. That's just the way it came down to the federal government.
I agree.
And it's through NL-COG, like for example, the city is elected to put their entire sum of $4 million into the I-49 construction, which we need about $254 million to complete the project. That won't create any jobs. That will go into a depository and won't be done for years to come until they get the rest of the money to do it. So that doesn't create any jobs either. And we decided based on most urgent needs. We had the same option of putting out $700,000 into I-49, but we do have some safety issues right now that we want to take care of with ours. And that is unfortunate that the people and the tests that we had to perform are limited in scope in terms of industry. There's not a lot of people that we deal with to do road projects that have the materials and equipment to do this type of work. So we are limited in who we can send it to. But it has to meet federal guidelines and requirements when we let the projects out to make sure it's done according to federal guidelines. So we cannot create any more economic opportunity for employment other than using the same viable means we have to get the job done if we were going to do it.
Well, I'm just simply saying I think we really undermined the spirit of what this, what the stimulus package was all about. That was to create some jobs and to try to put some people to work. But like to me, all we've done is found some more money for the same contractors to go out and do the same type of work. And as we, go further through the process, I would just hope that we keep in mind, that's what this was all about. And I'm hoping that we're challenging statements like this about, people not having poor economic times. I mean, some of us are not, but a lot of people are.
Yeah.
They need jobs. And we don't need to have a blanket statement in our submissions that we don't have people here having a tough time. They are.
Yes.
You shut down all kind of plants out here, and people getting laid off, and people don't have any work to do. So let's not let those type statements go unchallenged. And as I said, I don't want to put a damper on it. I know it's hard work. I know you're doing, the best you can with it. But I'm concerned that all we've done here, it appears to me, is got $700,000 to make the rich richer. And you got people out there without a job, and that's what it's coming down to in my book right now. So that's where I'm at. Thank you, Madam President. And also, before I finish, I'm still concerned about who is selecting where this road work is going to be done. I'm here in Rearworth Road. I know that's in somebody's commission district, and I'm not trying to knock you on that, but I'm just saying, who is making these selections as to where this money going to go? Is that being done by the committee that's meeting with the city, or is it being done by the commissioners here, or administration? Who exactly is doing that?
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Jenkins, in all due respect, sir, I agree with you in principle that the purpose for the American Republic stimulus money is to put people back to work. But there are strings that came attached to that money. You have to have projects that's on the shelf ready to go. And the only way we can spend the transportation money is on transportation projects. And and we looked at what we had in the hopper that was ready to go, and we chose based on what we had ready that we could meet the requirements that was imposed on us by the federal government. That's why I selected Rearworth Road. My first choice was to do Linwood Avenue, where there is an immediate danger of people going off the new expressway, but we couldn't meet the guidelines of the program and get an acquisition of property in line before the project had to be done. So the next obvious thing to us was the Linwood Road. We planned on doing that road anyway, and for $700,000, we didn't even get much road done anyway, sir, because we spend about $9 million on doing roads annually just out of our coffers. So we looked at what made sense to us, what we can execute right away, and what met the federal guidelines of the money being spent in our parish.
And you all may want to collaborate sometime with various organizations out there who really look at these issues of economically disadvantaged areas and how the stimulus money can be geared towards some of the economically disadvantaged areas. Sometimes you got to go out beyond the people sitting around the table and talk to some of these organizations that have done the research and have looked at it. Maybe give some guidance and some ideas on how we could gear this money sometime towards economic disadvantaged areas. And those areas come in all colors. You understand what I'm saying? I mean, they're everywhere. A person without a job ain't talking about what color their skin is. They're talking about they need a job. So I'm just simply saying, there are organizations out there who spend a lot of time doing the research and doing the math and finding ways for these things to happen. So let's make sure that sometime we involve them in the discussion to get some of their wisdom that they have on issues like this. But just the same, I know I sound like I'm on a soapbox, I probably am about to slip off of it, but that was the idea here. The idea was to create some jobs, and I'm disappointed.
Exactly right.
Thank you, Madam President.
Commissioner Lynn?
My question's been answered. Thank you.
Commissioner McCullough?
Let me apologize for being late, but I did call and let Woody know that I would be a little late in regards to the conference that we attended in Miami this past week. What I'm hearing is that he's addressing transportation only in reference to the stimulus package.
No, ma'am, we had basically every category of stimulus funding. The transport, for example, the energy, we had $22 million worth of requests from Caddo just in that package alone for Caddo Parish. And as Mr. Ward is saying, that, man, we're finding out that there's some constraints with that because it's based on population. And when we read through the requirements today, that's what we're finding, that unless we collaborate with other communities of similar dispositions, we had to have a certain threshold number of citizens in the parish to qualify. Because, as I said, we have $22 million just by ourselves, but they're only going to be less than that statewide, 13 million statewide.
13.8.
So we just actually had monies for transportation and energy?
No, ma'am, it's an array of categories of things across the spectrum of various things. Infrastructure was very portion of that money for infrastructure. A large portion was social programs as well as transportational needs in terms of highway issues.
Okay, so all of our funds have been exhausted as far as our part in the stimulus package because, based on you were there, the way they explained it was that these monies were available and that, we really actually needed to get a toolbox and consider everybody within that toolbox in order to exhaust these funds, based on population, and that it would be left up to the parish commissioners to, as to how these funds would actually be distributed. That's how I understood it.
Well, ma'am, there are some strict requirements. I think you have to have a parish of 200,000.
Correct. That's correct. There's 200,000 or more to qualify for Department of Energy grants. There's 13.8 dedicated to the state, and of that 13.8, you've got to have at least a municipality or a parish, plus any cities combined in that to form one group to be able to go after the funds. Right now, that's why I mentioned that we only have two possibilities. One possibility with compressed natural gas and one for the infrastructure. The energy one's out there. We just have to be creative in who we pick and how we choose to form one together to qualify. At this moment, as we sit, Caddo Parish does not qualify by ourselves. That's all I was presenting to y'all.
So you're addressing all of the funds for
Yes, ma'am.
So what about...
We looked at all of them. I just narrowed them down for you a little bit.
Okay.
Which ones that we really are available for at this time.
Okay, well, it was my understanding that the monies were in place and that it was just up to us as elected parish officials to make sure we have a part in how these monies were going to be distributed. I know I didn't, other than it being presented to me after the fact, but I came back in hopes that I would have some input as to how these funds would be distributed based on the information on how we were informed at this convention.
Well, you could have a say in what is submitted in our application request, for sure. But after we've submitted our application in, it kind of depends if they approve it or not approve it. That funds will go for whatever we submit for. But there is no funding for energy directly to Caddo Parish. The only funding that we have directly for Caddo Parish is the $700,000 for infrastructure, and that's for bridge, roads, or drainage.
Nothing for water, sewer, anything like that?
Ma'am, it's open competitive grant.
Rural businesses?
It's all open competitive, and then when I say that, in most cases, especially with the Department of Energy, the Department of Energy is broken into three categories. You have weatherization, state energy program, and energy efficiency and conservation block grants. That's $155 million, almost $156 million gone to the state of Louisiana. Of those fundings, the only one that we can qualify for would be the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Block Grant, which has $13.8 million tagged to it. And if you read the application, we don't even qualify until we try to tag in with someone like the City of Shreveport and the City of Greenwood to try to obtain a large enough figure for that. And then we'll just be submitting against New Orleans and Baton Rouge and Lafayette and any other counties or parishes and cities are out there who want to qualify. And from then it'll be up to whoever's in Baton Rouge to say, okay, these are the ones that get the money. So the money's there, but it's not there. It's not an open checkbook for us to run.
The reason it's not available to us is because of population.
That's correct. $200,000 or higher. 200,000 people or higher, you'd have to qualify, minus the cities that could also qualify. And I'll give you the example. We have about 252,000 people in Caddo Parish. About 200 of them are in the city of Shreveport. At least 52,000 that are left in the rural part, minus the citizens of Greenwood, Blanchard, Ida, Oil City, I go on. So there's approximately about 40,000 people in the rural Caddo Parish that we would be granting for, and it does not qualify.
And nothing through USDA? We didn't get anything through?
No, ma'am, not as of yet. There's some grants out there for USDA, but a lot of times we're finding out so far we're not qualifying for those as well.
Based on population?
Population and budget, balance sheet.
But if we network with other governmental entities, Woody, is that what they explain?
Potential.
There's a possibility that we could qualify for some of these grants?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I just wanted, Woody, before you go on, I just wanted to share this guide to appropriations provisions of Economic Stimulus Act for state and local government. Some of you might want to look at this. This was something that was, you have it?
Ma'am, sure do, yeah.
Okay.
I read
Well,
through it
this was
today.
distributed in Miami at the conference, so if any of you all are interested in maybe reviewing this, I do have a copy, or? Okay.
The information we sent to you into the guide today, Exhibit A, is kind of some more details of, we received some very similar information from Mayor Landry's office about a month and a half ago or so. I went through this information and broke out, we went through in detail, we made some phone calls, we talked to some folks, and we broke it out of who would qualify for what within our parish. And Exhibit A of our information would break out what we found and who we kind of assigned it to. We assigned it to the department heads in our parish. And they, leave it up to them to kind of run the dog to make sure that it's what we can qualify, what we can't, and because they're the ones that know what their programs are. They're the ones that know what our needs are. And so we had them look at it, and we got some feedback on that. So that's how we were able to know where we're at.
So would you, administration, work with the collaboration and the networking of these other populations in order that we might qualify? You're going to be working with that, Woody, in the near future, especially with the USDA grants?
Yes, ma'am. The USDA grant particularly covers rural areas of the parish, more so than any other areas. For example, in this building alone, we have a $2 million project, ma'am, to replace the AC unit in here, make this building more energy efficient. And we certainly would like to have to pay for something of this nature, but we didn't qualify because we don't have the population. That's what we're doing with the city of Shreveport, because they have
Is it too late to
200,000.
do that?
Pardon me?
Is it too late to do that?
And we're going to look at that, and we talked about that this morning, Ken and I met. But one interesting thing I want you all to be aware of, Ken, when you talk to folks in Washington, didn't he ask you about what state you were from?
Yes. When I talked to, especially the Department of Energy, we talked to them a good month ago, trying to gather information. They were trying to push it out of the websites, and one lady said they should gladly send me, I think she sent me a link to a website and an application form. But she started asking some questions. I said, ma'am, I don't know if I qualify and all this stuff. She said, I'm going to send it to you. And she says, well, where are you from? I said, Shreveport, Louisiana, Caddo Parish. Well, where's that? So it's in Louisiana. Oh, okay. You near New Orleans? I'm like, no, I'm not near New Orleans. I'm near the northwest part. Oh, well, I don't know. You're going to have to send in, start asking about need and where I was at. And I'm not going to say that somebody has pre-notions of where they're going to send the money to. I don't know. But the lady was awfully, I don't know. I'm going to send it to you, and make sure you send in a balance sheet is what she asked for, a certified balance sheet. And I spoke to Woody about it today. I went back and looked to see if I could find, like the application where it said that or spelled it out. And I couldn't find it spelled out, but it doesn't make sense for them to want to spell it out. They want everybody to apply, and they just want to, be able to give it to whoever. That way that they're not. But the conversation I had was very profound on me because she seemed like, real quick that she was trying to either sort me out and be helping someone who needs the help more than we do. But she did send me the stuff, and it was very vague and really wasn't a lot of details on how to apply. But the information is out there now with the Department of Energy to exactly know how to apply. You can apply online. There's and then nowhere do they discourage anybody to apply. They want you to apply, but there are some caveats in it. Like I printed it, and real quick I found out that we wouldn't apply, and they would throw us out real quick with 200,000 or less. So that's kind of where we sit with that.
Okay, one more thing, Woody. The allowance program that was discussed by Mr. Bassett, you remember he threw out a number, $1 billion. Where is that money? Is that money to be distributed, or he said empowers construction national nonprofit organizations? Are you familiar with that money as a part of the stimulus package?
No, ma'am, I'm not
The
yet.
allowance program, $1 million?
That was a separate document from what we're discussing,
Okay,
but I need to continue looking at that.
all right.
And Commissioner, I want you all to know, we're making every attempt to get whatever we can from the Recovery Act. And we'll be finding out, once we mention finances and the solvency of our financial standings, it almost like disqualifies us because we've become the victim of our own financial success here in Caddo Parish. So we didn't, by no means, want to imply that we didn't think people deserve to go to work. That's not the case, but you have to submit a certified copy of your balance sheet, and they can look at that. And if you are doing financially well, it's going to be an uphill battle to get anything. But we will try to give whatever we can, because we believe in putting people to work also.
Commissioner Cox?
When you fill out any paperwork, just pick an address below I-10. And I'm sure we'll get whatever you ask for.
We'll take that into
Just a suggestion. Because I'm sure Ms. Landry's got everything already nailed down there.
Okay, well, let me say that there's still some people in Louisiana who don't know what Caddo Parish is, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly right, yes, ma'am.
People from D.C. to know where it is. This is a good point for me to acknowledge Becky Wilson, who is here from Congressman John Fleming's office, who also participated in our retreat about a month ago. Wave, everybody. Good to have you. I'm a little, let me ask you a question, because you keep talking about this 200,000. Are we applying on behalf of the entire parish? Because the parish itself has 252,000 people.
You would be, but it's very clear when you read it, it's the amount of the parish or the organization minus anybody else that could apply. Now, if we applied for a grant at the same time with the city of Shreveport for the same projects, then we would qualify as 252,000 people.
Do we know have we inquired about what they're applying for?
I've seen their list, but I don't know that, as of right now, they would better qualify. And I don't know if they're submitting anything or not. We've just today started researching, the Department of Energy's information. Because when I first talked to them, we weren't even in the ballgame. And when Woody came back and said that there was a lot of information presented to him, I wanted to go back and see. They're making revisions. As you know, they tried to get this bill out so fast, they didn't have the fine-tune. So the first stuff came out was very vague and very information. Like in this particular one, there's been 3 revisions since there. And the first revision made it from, when I first saw it, too, it also said state. Only the state could apply for it. Now they revised it and said any other entity. That also means other nonprofits out there. That doesn't mean necessarily Caddo Parish or a city or a parish or a county. It could be another organization out there, schools. Anybody else could be going out there and applying for those grants.
Well, the other thing, I guess we're getting so many different messages because at the conference there were specific, I guess, things on the ARA that counties or parishes could apply for on their own.
Sure.
I understand.
And they want you to apply for everything. I mean, that's what they're going to tell you to apply for that, whether you qualify or not, and they're going to lead you out until they find a competitive grant. Remember, even if you do qualify, it's still competitive. You just may qualify to send in an application.
Well, and I know some of them are competitive, but we're also hearing that they're non-competitive as well. I mean, are you not
I haven't
finding
seen
that?
any of those.
I mean, did you
Other list from Mayor Andrews' office and the list on this, the majority of them, other than the 700,000 from NRCOG is competitive.
Well, let me say this. I really don't want to, this is such an important bill. Thank you, Ken. And such an important, I guess, economic development engine, not only for Caddo Parish, but for the country. And I want to make sure that we don't really abdicate our responsibility as policymakers to make sure that we're doing all that we can to secure these funds. And so I'm going to have an ad hoc committee of a few commissioners to really go through the ARA information that we've gotten from our congressional delegation, that we've gotten at NACO, and we have resources there, as well as, from the conferences that we've gone through to make sure we're really going through this with a fine-tooth comb and applying for whatever funds that are available. If that means coordinating with City of Shreveport, which I don't think is going to be an issue, or with the other towns and villages and municipalities, and that's what we'll have to do. But what I don't want to happen is that the May deadline and the June 26th deadline to go by, and
That's
Caddo
just the one for the
Parish.
Department of Energy.
Exactly, and
There's
Caddo
other ones
Parish
out there
does
as well.
not have anything in the hopper. There's quite a bit of money under the Department of Justice that can help us with juvenile greatly, and whatever we got to do, work around the number requirement or nothing we can do about the money unless, nothing we can do about the money, but certainly not all counties are in financial straits. I mean, there are a lot, but there are some that aren't. And I don't know if, I think, a lot of this is going to be political, and who you know, and we've got our congressional delegation, I think. We have a pretty good working relationship with them, but we want to let them know what we have in the hopper in whatever manner they can assist us. So if you would like to serve on that ad hoc committee, please let me know.
I'd gladly help.
If you have the time and we can just kind of comb through it and work with the administration to make sure that we're not overlooking anything.
I agree.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, ma'am, the next presentation and update is from Steve Snow and Mr. Edwin Scott on the juvenile reform initiatives.
Good afternoon, Commissioner. My name is Edwin Scott. I'm Director of Juvenile Services here in Caddo Parish. To my left is Steve Snow. He's the site coordinator for our JVAI Reform Initiative. We just want to give you a very brief update to where we are in this reform package. I do want to say from the onset, I thank each and every one of you for your support in the past 2.5 years, because without your support, we couldn't have made some of the changes that you will see shortly in this very brief presentation. So I want to leave with Steve right now to give you some information, and then I'll come back briefly.
The Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention Facility is built in 1990. It has 29 beds in it. The reason that we were brought into the Juvenile Detention Alternative Initiative, brought into Caddo Parish, was because almost in the days of the open for operation in 1990, they exceeded their bed capacity for running an average daily population of 45 to 50. What Mr. Lucky's passing out, I'm going to ask y'all to look at the first page. I've got 3 photographs, and the top 2 photographs, whenever it's necessary for the juvenile detention center to sleep more than 29 people, they use this device, this long blue hard plastic device. It's called a canoe, what the nickname is. And this thing that's rolled up behind it is actually a mattress that they put on top of it for the kid to sleep on. The bottom photograph is where the problem starts. The doors in the cells in Caddo Parish Juvenile Detention open inward. Most correctional facilities, they open either side to side or open outward. Because they open inward, you can see this bottom photograph. This represents the canoe placed against the door with the mattress rolled up behind it, wedged against the back wall. Kids have learned they can do that to prevent access to the cells by the security staff. This man here that was outside this photograph is an actual attendant. This is a staged photograph, but it's just showing you what has actually happened there before. And that's as far as he can open the door. Now, the only way they can gain access to this when this happens is if there happens to be 2 or 3 stout male staff, they can push that door until this blue canoe actually snaps in half. You know, if we're lucky, it snaps in half. If we're not lucky, it shatters, and there's fiberglass and plastic flying throughout. So this gives us the impetus. I mean, you can imagine the litigation or the liability that the parish would incur if a kid decided to try and do harm to himself, to hang himself or something like that, or if there were some kind of an assault in a cell and the youth were able to block access by the staff by doing this. And, you know, we've been lucky in the past. This has been done. You know, this isn't just a theoretical what could happen. This has happened on numerous occasions, but mainly it's been by kids who are, upset, belligerent, toward the staff. They'll love the toilet or do something like that, where it's destructive to the property. Fortunately, it hasn't been done prior to a kid, coming up with a plan, I'm going to hurt myself or kill myself, whatever. But it's something we definitely want to prevent. So about, what we're looking at is strategies we can manage the population at 29 and not have to go over and not put the public at any further risk or not do what our primary purpose is, to house offenders who are public security risk or failure to appear risk. The second sheet is just a 4-month snapshot. These graphs here, the horizontal line that goes across the top of these, that represents the 29, which is the number of beds in the facility, and the vertical lines are each day within the month, the number of people that woke up in detention that morning. And you can see that by using the strategies we've developed, the risk assessment instrument, which is a way for us to assess kids that come to the detention center based on the severity of their offense, their court history, things like that, and make a recommendation to the judge for them to be released before their first appearance in court. You can see by the different strategies we've developed, there's only been 3 days in the last 4 months that we've had to go over 29 bed capacity and sleep double in a cell. And more encouraging, of those days, there's only been one 24-hour period, which I believe was 2 days in February, where we were over 29 beds. The judges and the other stakeholders in this process have really, having seen the photographs and seen the actual, layout of the detention centers, have been given the impetus now to try and manage the population best they can and not use detention as the first option whenever, kids present problems. The third page that I've prepared is just 4 days that were chosen randomly from the census sheets for the last 4 years, kind of give you all an idea of where we're heading in our process. And you'll notice in the far right, bottom right, that was in December of 2006, and the population that day was 47. These numbers, there's a pie chart, if you care a further explanation, there's a good legend down at the bottom that shows you what each one of these legends represents. Moving over to 2007 up to June of 2008, which is right really before our initiative got started, the census is still in the 40s. And looking at the snapshot of the picture on April 16th of this year, it's down to 21. And that's, looking over the last 4 months, that's pretty consistent, 21 to 27 is basically what we've been running. And we're making decisions to not only admit the right kids to the program, but also to release the right ones. And of course, the risk assessment is a factor. We don't want to release a kid just say we're massaging numbers or having a reform and have that kid inappropriately released and go out and, be a one-person crime rate or something like that. We want to make sure that every release decision is a valid decision and is not, releasing something that's going to put the public, releasing someone that's going to put the public at harm. Some of y'all may remember within the last 30 days you passed a resolution here, which is the purposes of detention resolution. And I want to point to the April 16, 2009 chart just to show you how we're sort of tied into that. The resolution identified or designated the purpose of detention for to house kids who are public safety risk, is, I guess, felony crimes against people, things like that, or kids who have failure to appear histories or absconding. If you look at the graphic of the 21 kids in there on that day, 13 of them, which is right at 2/3 of the kids, were either they were ordered taken into custody, which means they were absconders or failed to appear, or were there for a felony against a person. So we're working towards, trying to come into compliance with 100% what we'd like to see of all the kids on any given day being kids who are there because they're public safety risk or have histories of failure to appear. One last thing I'd like to point out to y'all, if you look at the June 17th, 2008 chart, that yellow wedge down at the bottom number has 7 kids there that date. Those were kids who were misdemeanor offenders, and one of the things that we have developed in this parish has now expanded the funding for is the misdemeanor referral center. It was a practice of the police department that whenever they apprehend a child for like shoplifting or a fight at school or low-grade misdemeanor offense, they would release them to a suitable adult or guardian. But if one was not available, they'd make one call. If one wasn't available, their next recourse was to take the kid to the detention center. And then the detention staff would have to try and locate a suitable person to release him to. And that number, 7, well, that day was pretty representative. Any given day during the summer, school was not in session. Kids were out more likely to be apprehended and placed in detention for those kind of offenses. Now the child, if the guardian is not available at the time of arrest, he's taken to the misdemeanor referral center for processing instead of to the detention center. That helps keep that number more manageable, keeps us at our, at or below our target population of 27. And plus, it's not necessarily given, that you want a kid who's been brought in for shoplifting a $3 item or even a minor fight with a peer. You're going to be brought in and placed in detention with somebody who may be an armed robber, murderer, or even a burglar or something like that. So it serves both ends of what we're trying to accomplish in our objective. But the commission recently, this program was sort of tied to a school truancy grant, so it was only operational during the days that school was in session. And because of the success of the program, the commission has agreed to provide additional funding, so now it's going to be open 12 months out of the year. It'll be open during the summer, spring break, Christmas break, times like that in the past that traditionally weren't available for it to be used. So I want to thank y'all for stepping forward and doing that. That's all the presentation I have. Is there anyone like to ask any questions?
Jimmy?
Commissioner Wynn?
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to commend Mr. Edwin Scott and everybody with the juvenile detention facility on the huge changes that they have undertaken and the accomplishments that they've made, and it's very appreciative. Thank you.
I do want to say in closing that this budget year, we'll be able to look at getting our budget based on the actual number that we can retain in the detention home. In past years, it was open. As long as we can cram them in there, that's what we use and that's what we budget off. Now we can look at, in this July, looking at 29 kids and what would it cost for us to operate with at least 29 kids in the detention center on any given day. So that's going to help us set our budget for this coming year.
So that means no budget amendments.
We're going to try to reduce that as much as we can.
Commissioner Dominique?
How many beds are in a cell? Is it 2 or 1? I can't remember.
Well, it's more. And we have 2 observation rooms that's up front. 2 cells have 2 beds, but then we have observation rooms up front for kids that have to be watched. Not each cell has 2 beds. There's 2 cells with 2 beds.
Most of them have 1.
Yeah.
And then you have to put the canoe when you have an overrun.
Right.
Okay.
One final comment also. I'd like to introduce our associate, LaVisha Edwards, who's sitting here in the front. Well, she's our data analyst, and she actually prepares all the charts. She does a number of daily and monthly quarterly reports for us to help us in our meetings and sessions.
Thank you.
Hey, Commissioners, this is one thing in closing. Also, I asked the staff to take a look at the efficiencies that are occurring as a result of the NKC Foundation study. And needless to say, 3 or 4 years ago, we had as much as 50 kids in the detention. Now that's coming down, way down. So we expect some cost savings to be derived from that in terms of operational costs. And we're only, the focus is on detaining kids who pose a public risk to our citizens. So those 3 factors alone are the low-hanging fruits we're getting from the NKC Foundation study, which is being funded by the NKC Foundation. So So we're grateful for the studies to improve our efficiency of what we're doing with the Juvenile Detention Center. Thank you very much, class. Appreciate it. Commissioner, the last thing I just have for you, just a reminder, this Friday, the intergovernment consortium meeting will be taking place at the Independence Stadium Skybox at 11:30 a.m. And our host is the city of Shreveport, this particular, this meeting. So, this Friday, 11:30 a.m., Intergovernment Council meeting, city of Shreveport. And that concludes my report, unless there's any questions for me.
Commissioner Epperson?
Mr. Grubbs, I think in the last meeting I asked you about some information relative to the law that was enacted, I believe, last year, prohibiting the donation of adjudicated property to nonprofits. Did you come up with anything on that?
In that,
It's Roy Wells,
your
legislative.
the legislation from last year.
Yes, I think it was enacted last year.
Okay, I'm still blank, Mr. Epperson. What was your specific question?
I just wanted to know the intent, why was it enacted, the reason, and, I mean, if you hadn't, just research it for me, we'll talk Thursday.
I apologize to you. That was about a 60-page bill that was reenacted, I guess, without opposition, and I know it's what we're operating under today, but rather than waste your time today, let me just get with Jimmy and get a better answer to you.
Okay. As far as my meeting that was here, my district meeting on April the 28th, I'd just like to commend all of the staff members. You really made me look good, so all you other commissioners better get on board. We're like a movie star. We look good already. The only bad part about it is the ones out in the rural areas, they jealous now, so we probably gonna have to go out there because they said they missed it, they didn't hear about it, so I owe them, so.
Going to my neighborhood here?
We'll be, no, the other part of my district. So I appreciate all the effort, the commission clerk staff, all the research, the administrative staff, and also just like to thank publicly Reverend Joey Ketchum at Western Hills Baptist Church. The facilities was excellent. They did a marvelous job. That's all I have.
Commissioner Lynn?
I wanted to let everybody know that this coming Friday at 9:30 a.m. before the intergovernmental meeting, there is a master planning oversight meeting in the mayor's library, and Goody Clancy will be there giving a progress report as to what they have done to this date.
You gonna try to behave in this meeting?
He won that last round. Let him go. He's doing fine. We can send some backup with him.
Okay, thank you. Next item, Mr. Spears?
No other business on the agenda. New business, you
Oh,
have...
hold on, let's go back, because we're on the administration report, communiques and reports.
Yeah, I missed that. All
Okay.
communication reports. Sorry.
Commissioner Jenkins?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Mr. Spears.
Sorry about that.
You got two items that was left in your folders today. Last year, our Finance and Appropriations Committee, formerly Ways and Means Committee, as we went through the process of appropriating funds for our non-governmental organizations, felt as though we needed to have a clear set of guidelines in which to follow. That's not to say that we've not been following the standard. We've basically following the standard that's been set by the state statutes, but as far as there being, some itemized guidelines, we found that there really were none. So the first document you have there is proposed guidelines for appropriation applicants. I'm putting it forward today because the committee may have already looked at it, but I want the body as a whole to take a look at it and give them whatever feedback that you wish to give on this, if you think something needs to be added to it, so that we'll have something in place before we finally go through that process this year. Of course, the second item that you have, which appeared to work well last year, is a time timetable for the preparation of the budget. Once again, we kind of approached the budget process using the timetable last year. The comments I got from most of my colleagues was that it worked very well. It gave a little more time for us to really get the budget and to go through it and have the input that many of us wanted to have in that process. So we went back. It's the same basic kind of timetable, but of course it's got different dates. Once again, we're putting it out here for you to take a look at. Give us your input one way or the other so that we can have something in place by the time we get ready to proceed with the budget preparation. With that, I appreciate you, Madam President.
Commissioner Thibodeau?
Just want to remind the people that are on the Policies Procedures Committee that we'll meet right after this meeting's over in one of the rooms in the back.
Commissioner Escaday? I'm sorry, I had your name down. Okay, you're okay. Next item, Mrs. Spears? Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Dominique?
I just want to remind everybody that's on the Park and Recreation Committee, we'll have a meeting Thursday at 2 o'clock.
Commissioner Lynn? I'm sorry, Commissioner Cox, I need to put my glasses on.
Just want to let the commission know I will be out of town on Thursday, so will not be here to attend. Send my apologies now.
Okay. You do need to?
I need to go last.
Okay, that's good. Next item, Mr. Spears?
Yes, zoning case of PLS is on the agenda, just information only. You will be looking at that case on May 21st. MPC denied a request for special exception use in R1D for 2 mobile homes. That is being appealed. Next, you have ordinance reduction ordinance number 4881, amends building maintenance fund budget for security costs to this building.
Was there a motion on the zoning case to move to Thursday?
Don't need to, it's just information only.
Okay, that one is okay.
Move to Thursday on Friday, 81. Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Pearson, second by Commissioner Cox. Any discussion? Please vote.
There it is, it's paper.
Okay, that passes. Next item?
Have a resolution supporting Employees Free Choice Act. Mr. Epperson.
Recommend move for Thursday.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Jenkins. Any discussion?
Yeah.
Commissioner Epperson?
Yes, I would urge my fellow commissioners to vote in favor of moving this item forward to Thursday, supporting the resolution for the Employee Free Choice Act. It's currently in Congress, and the resolution would in fact ask that our our senatorial delegates, Mary Landry, David Vitter, would move forward positively on this particular resolution for the Employee Free Trade Act.
Commissioner Escaday?
Yeah, I read through the information. I have a question, if Mr. Epson or somebody can answer this. Is this the one that has the provision in there that will call for the voting to not be in private anymore on as to whether or not vote for the procedures, for collective bargaining, all these things?
No, there is an option. You can either go with the card, and the card will serve as a petition, provided that there is no opposition, or the employees with a majority filling out the cards can call for a secret ballot vote. And the other provisions in there also, they basically call it the card check for some reason, but there are some other things in there that sort of brings forward and updates the National Labor Relations Acts on some laws as it relates to negotiations and unionization.
Okay, I'm still a little confused on this. I've read through what you left us, and a lot of this makes sense to me. So what you're saying is the votes will be private if they call for a private vote, and if they don't, then there will be a public vote? Is that
The card will serve, say, as a petition. Say if an individual comes in to sign a petition, the individual cards will be a petition. If anyone wants a private vote, the
is I think once they attain 30% on the cards, they can call for a private vote.
Okay, so it's public unless they get 30% that want it private.
Right, at least that, and they can call for a secret ballot vote.
Okay. You know, this is a tough thing here. I'm all for people that work hard for a living, all men and women. And I think what we have here is an attempt to correct some things, but then there's a couple of codicils in there that make it bad and that kind of screw it up. It's like, I don't know why Congress can't ever do anything right the first time. My concerns are simply this, that our Congressman, we've got two different senators, and they're going to do, I can tell you how one's going to vote and how the other one's going to vote regardless of what we do, so it kind of makes me wonder why we're even messing with this, and is it really germane to us? It's kind of like, I understand they're trying to get into the Bowl Championship Series now because they don't like the way that's done, like they don't have any more important stuff to do down there. But, you know, to correct some wrongs within the rights of workers is one thing, and I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done, but we also have to be cautious because what happens in using correcting one wrong, we create an injustice on another side. And what I fear that this will do is do that same thing. It may add some rights to some people, and then it's going to take some rights away from other people. And that has to go with privacy and voting. And I think that the way this ought to be worded is that private vote ought to always be the letter of the day, unless it's called for, that it should be a public vote. And so I think they have this thing backwards. We as representatives of the people, our votes here are public votes because they should be. It's not germane just to our needs, but it's to the people we serve. But when we go into the voting booth on election day to vote for our candidate of choice, or our tax, or what laws we do or do not like, that's between us and that's behind that curtain. Most of us espouse or align ourselves with a particular policy or philosophy, but the nice thing about it is it doesn't matter how staunch whatever you are, when you go in that booth, you can vote for the candidate of your choice, and I can promise you that there's none of us here who haven't, Democrat or Republican alike, voted for someone along the lines who was of a different party, but nobody knows that but us. And judging from a couple of times the candidates we've had for governor, I know that's a fact, and you don't have to tell me it's a fact or not. So I'm concerned that these workers may not be helped, may be intimidated. I'm supporting my family. I've got pressure to sign up for this collective bargaining agreement or join this union. My co-workers seem to want it. I may or may not particularly want it, but I'm motivated, since it's a public vote, to go with it because I want to keep my job and I want to provide for my family. I think maybe that's sometimes maybe the wrong reason to do it. I just think that this is a well-intended and it's kind of flawed. It reminds me of the parable that, it's kind of a wolf in sheep's clothing, so to speak. I only know this, and then I won't belabor the point, that I think all voting, individual voting, are private. You go behind that booth and you do what your conscience says. The Constitution provided for this since day one. And if there's two things that are private and should be left private, and that's the way that individuals vote on what they want and how they feel, and that's their communication with their Creator. And boy, once we lose one, I'm in fear that we may lose the other. I think there's some things to be done to protect workers. There's no question about it. But the intent of this thing is a good thing. It's flawed. It puts me in a bad position. I'm not going to support this. It doesn't mean I don't support men and women who work hard and need to be protected. But once they lose their right to privacy of the booth, and I think you're just kind of shooting yourself in the foot trying to justify correcting one wrong by creating another. Thank you.
Commissioner Thibodeau?
Yeah, I'm not sure this is necessarily an appropriate subject for a public body to vote on. I think we would probably be better to just leave it alone. And secondly,
a real smart man told me one time that the greatest security for any worker was a profit made by the company he works for. And if you don't believe it's true, go ask the people at General Motors, at Chrysler, and all the other corporations that have had so many layoffs. If they were profitable, they wouldn't have had the layoffs. So I'm just saying, I don't think it's appropriate for a public body to consider this one way or the other. I'm finished.
Okay. Commissioner Cox?
My dad was a proud Teamster for 30-plus years. On his tombstone, it has the Teamster logo. So I know, I've grew up with the union. But on this, and I support the union on more than one occasion. But you're going to look at a lot of people who want to vote, but will not vote knowing it's an open vote. And because if it's an open vote, their vote's taken away already. And not saying it's whether it's good or bad, but if you talk to a few people that don't want to get out in front or don't want to know people that how they feel, their right as an individual, whether it be voting for the union or voting for your candidate or something like that, their right is to have that enclosed area to vote their conscience. And for years, when my dad voted, it was a closed ballot. You know, it wasn't that way. So I would ask that we do bypass this today. Thank you.
Commissioner Pearson?
I'm going to support this because I support the bigger part. I've talked with my son, who's I believe in that they ought to be able to collectively bargain for benefits. I do have a problem. I've probably got more information at home. My son has emailed me stuff, and I've got packets that I've talked with someone over the telephone that's given me things to read that explains my concern, and my concern is perhaps the same as others about the private versus, and it's not so much that as it is that the mention of the unions and the employers accusing each other of intimidation. And cases of intimidation, there's been so many. I mean, I've got a list of how many cases that were proven of intimidation by employers and how many by unions, and depends on who you get it from as to how many cases you have. I have some concerns about the vote, but I believe that based on what I read, that if you have an open sign-up vote on cards, to get the number of people that's necessary to vote on having a union. That's the way I read it. And once you get that 30%, then the next vote may be either way. Maybe private, maybe secret ballot, or it may be open. Based on either the employees or the employer. So I don't know whether or not my understanding is correct about it, but I'm gonna support it, and because I think that they ought to be able to collectively bargain. Thank you very much, Madam President.
Commissioner Lynn?
I'm not going to support it based on the fact that it exposes the leaders of who is collaborating to put together a union. You have leaders in a group, and these leaders are working towards putting together a union, and then they have to initially expose themselves in order for this to happen, and I think that those would be the first people that the company would fire if that was something that the company didn't want to do as far as putting together a union. And so I oppose it based on the fact that you hate to see those leaders being fired from a company discriminated against for whatever reason that might be. Thank you.
Commissioner Everson?
2 points of information. Mr. Thibodeau stating that you don't think that we should vote on this measure. This measure is basically no difference than the CNG proposal resolution that we'll be voting on, or any piece of legislation that's in the state legislature, the Congress in Washington, D.C. We can do a resolution in support of it or against it. I think the only thing that possibly would cause us a problem if there was some litigation, which we were a part of, then we would not participate there. But this isn't any different from any other resolution of support of anything any governmental entity is deliberating, be it state or federal. And Mr. Lynn, the exposure is already there in your leadership. You're going to have people that are going to go and tell management who's organizing whatever it is. One way. There are some guidelines and some new laws that's put in the National Labor Relations Bill that will circumvent and that will remedy that now. That's part of this process. So that's not a reason of exposing. Those guys girls that are organizing the union, they aren't going to basically hide their hand because they are sincere in what they are doing. But the thing is, this also will protect from reprisals against those people that are known to be organizers. Thank you.
Let me ask a question. Do we know, and I know Commissioner Everson, you served on the Labor Relations Board with NACO. Do we know what position NACO has taken on this?
No. They'll be taking that up this summer.
July. Okay. Commissioner Smith?
Well, I hear both sides, but I still don't know if the individual who goes to vote is going to be able to vote privately or public. So, which one is it?
It's an option. They can have an option. It does not take away the right to vote.
So, if I were on either side, how would I know how we're going to vote, publicly or privately?
The ones that sign the cards and call for it to say, okay, we've signed enough cards and we want a private vote.
So that's almost like going public then.
Well, what people believe in, they have no options about reprisals or retribution. This nation would not be free if we didn't have people that was willing to risk their lives and take a stand for freedom. So this is the same way that I look at that.
I appreciate your point of view, but I still believe in the private vote. So.
Commissioner Baker?
The 30% that's needed, is it 30% of the actual votes or 30% of the registration?
30% of the cards that's signed, once we reach that level.
After they vote?
No, before.
Oh, before? So they do this card before they actually vote for whatever the election?
Even they do that now. You must have cards. The cards are signed now. You have to sign cards now.
Show interest in having a union.
Oh.
And if 30% show interest in having a union, then you vote. You have to have a certain percentage of that vote for the union to come in.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Cox?
Mr. Everson and I have had many talks on this, and I respect his point of view, and in most cases I would have supported this but for that one part. But I would like to also, for the ones who were not down at the state convention that we had, this was tabled by the state as well.
Thank you, Mr. Everson.
In respect to that, we brought it up from the floor, the same way we brought up support of General Motors. And the reason for it being tabled was because of lack of information.
Okay, no other commissioners? Please vote. That motion fails. Next item, Mr. Spears.
ma'am. Resolution 19 supports the General Motors plant. Move for Thursday.
Second. Moved by Commissioner Epperson, second by Commissioner Pearson. Any discussion?
Here and again, it's a resolution that was brought on the floor of the Police Chief Association Conference this spring. They supported that measure. And also, I noticed Mr. Smith's resolution, which we had gathered a group of counties with NACO that had automobile plants and automobile supply plants, and we were trying to come up with something that we could do proactive in light of the situation that's happening with the automobile plants. And compressed natural gas and more green options were also brought in the event that some of these plants lost some of the products that they manufacture, and hoping we can shift these plants over to CNG or some green biofuel type manufacturing facility and keep those plants within the area because of the economic impact that they bring about. And I ask your support for this on Thursday.
Okay, please vote. Passes. Next item.
Yes, appoint Mr. Alonzo Stewart to Fire District 2.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner McCullough, second by Commissioner Jenkins. Any discussion? Please vote. Passes. Next item.
Authorize charter school representatives from SADIS as
So
visitors.
moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Baker, second by Commissioner Jenkins. Commissioner Pearson.
Where are we gonna have charter school representatives? Oh, okay.
They just come talk about their.
I'm gonna be ready, sir. Thank you.
Better warn them.
I'm gonna let him be ready.
The bears come.
Boy, you can tell me about it afterwards, but
The passes.
Oh, okay.
Next item.
Authorize senior field representative Frank Gilbert, National Trust for Historic Preservation.
So move to Thursday.
Moved by Commissioner Lynn, second by Commissioner Jenkins. Any discussion? Please vote. One more time, Commissioner McCullough. Okay, that passes. Motion for resolution number 20, please. Commissioner Smith.
Make a motion to approve this. This actually enhances the natural gas, compressed natural gas that we have here in our area. And of course, my colleague has already mentioned the General Motors plant, which we have right here. And it's modern, and it can be turned into producing this automobile right here. And so to me, it's a win-win not only for Caddo Parish, but the entire state.
Okay. Moved by Commissioner Smith, second by Commissioner Dominique. Any discussion? Please vote. That passes. Commissioner Escaday.
I'd like to, a resolution acknowledging the first ever state lacrosse championship, won here locally by the Loyola Flyers, and declare May 21st Loyola Flyer Day in Caddo Parish, please.
Moved by Commissioner Escaday, second by Commissioner Baker. Any discussion? Please vote. I need to vote. Okay, that passes.
Thank you.
On the ARA Ad Hoc Committee, thank you, Commissioner Jenkins, as the Chair of Finance and Appropriations, for volunteering. I would like to have, if there's someone with an R designation behind their name, they would please let me know. Commissioner Cox?
What would that have to do with anything?
information, I did, on the consent agenda, we have Calvary Baptist Church, and since I'm not going to be here Thursday, I'd like permission from the chair to explain what I found out from Calvary. They own the land that this is going to be built on, and it's on the same side, probably about half a mile up near Mount Zion. But the company that is going to build the facility, it's a retirement facility, and the only thing that Calvary will be getting is a land check. It's their land.
Land lease?
Yeah. And
Near
so-
Mount Zion Road.
Near Mount Zion.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just right, almost directly across the street from the
Nursery.
Well, no, it's down from the nursery, you know where the, workman's comp?
Yeah.
Judge is? It's right across the street from that. It's got a for sale sign on it, or it got a sold sign on it. But they told me that they in no way would benefit from the operation itself. So,
The church won't,
the church will not, no.
but the people won't pay the taxes. I think that's what the principle.
Well, that's what, they will be paying taxes.
Okay,
They
that-
will, I mean, it'll go on like that, but as far as the church, sliding it underneath the church, you won't have to. So if I'm not here, if y'all would move and, move on that, I'd sure appreciate it.
And you want at least 7 votes too.
I'll make it 8.
I have a question for not Commissioner, Lord, have mercy, she would die. Attorney Frazier. Attorney Frazier. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
I just want everybody to see your suit, that's all.
Oh, we don't have that.
Thank you.
You're off like a show dog, I can't believe it.
Hey, Carl, what was that comment about that room?
Get on and checked it out.
Is it Appreciation Day?
Move for John.
All right, so the tip of those meetings.